Hello, good afternoon. My name is Mohammad Iqbal. I am a student of Northern Alberta Institute of Technology and I am representing my research paper for my communication course number 3321. The subject of my research is recent in mortgage rule will have a negative effect on Alberta's housing market and its overall economy. I am not talking in favor of this recent change on the mortgage rule to strengthen the Canadian housing market. I am opposing the rule. And here is the subject topics I am going to discuss. Uh, at first, I am going to talk a little bit about the changes, why these changes, what is the real motivation for Canadian government to make the change. I'm going to talk about the real what is the change, and I'm going to talk about Alberta's current economic condition, and on regards to Alberta's current economic condition, I'm going to criticize the new rule. I'm going to discuss the history of the last changes and what might happen in this because of this new rule. Then I'm going to talk how this rule can destroy decline Alberta's housing market and overall economy. Then I'm going to conclude my presentation. Why the change? The real motivation for this change was the US housing bubble, which starts in the year 2006-2007. The reason behind the US housing bubble is, as per critic, the relaxed mortgage lending standard, long-term trend of rising housing prices, low short-term interest rate policy, increased leveraging by investment bank. Canadian government have an impression that the Canadian mortgage lending standard is not tough enough. There is a huge indication of price acceleration in Toronto and Vancouver housing market, and Canadians are enjoying historic low interest rate, and government is also thinking the CMHC is leveraging by investment banks for high ratio mortgage, which they want, which is motivating people to buy house even if they cannot afford these things. So here is the changes effective from October 2016. Three new changes effective in mortgage rule. The first one is mortgage rate stress test, which means if you even if you are lending some, if you are getting money at the rate of 0.69, the Canadian government will check your affordability according to the rate, government standard rate, which is 4.64. That means the Bank of Canada's standard rate is 4.64. You have to be capable of repay your mortgage on the standard rate, which is 4.64, even you are bargaining with the bank at 2.69. And the acceptable gross debt service and total debt service ratio should be 39 and 44%, which was 36 and 40% before. So now you have to have less debt. Two other changes are the reporting rules for the primary resident capital gain exemption and distribution of risk among with the lender, which is actually not affecting our discussion or our economic condition. So the change. Next, I am going to talk about Alberta and its economy. The Alberta's booming economy is a history now. But before June 2014, there was a huge booming. Alberta's economy was booming. Between 1981 and 2013, Alberta's population increased by 76%. That means at that time there was always a higher demand for housing. So, as if there is a higher demand, you always have a uh, price increase because the supply was not supported, cannot support the demand. But from July 2014, recession started due to oil price fall. The fact is investment in oil and gas sector fell by 17 billion in 2015 and go on. There is a issue of new carbon tax, increased property tax, and it is predicted that by the year 2018, the provincial debt will be close to 60 billion. That means uh, people are losing job, people are leaving Alberta, so there will be a less demand. As there will be a less demand, the housing price will automatically decrease. So decrease the price artificially. Uh, the main motivation for this change is the price of housing price in Toronto and Vancouver. According to Canadian CMHC website, the Toronto and Vancouver housing market is the most problematic market. The new policy is targeting the pocket risk of the Toronto and Vancouver, but it also affects all Canadian all over, across the country. This rule will not help to increase the supply. So uh, actually, it's something not regular economic circumstances that if there is a increased demand and less supply, the price will automatically increase. And if we saw the history of these changes, because between 2007 and now there are big changes in center of mortgage rule, but this doesn't help. We can see the most recent change in February 2016. After the change, even there is a major change. The number of sales in June was up 10.6% from May to, and price were up about 15% in Vancouver. Here is the report from CMHC website. They have a discussion about in the four major topics like overheating, price acceleration, overvaluation, overbuilding. If we see the overheating, that means which means when sales generally outpace new listing in the market for existing home. The overheating market, we can see Victoria and Vancouver, which is in BC, Hamilton and Toronto, which is in Ontario. But the rest of the country's overheating is weak, so there is no problem areas across the country except Ontario and British Columbia. If you see the price acceleration also happens in BC and Ontario because of the overheating. The overvaluation terms is representing is the buyer is the citizen can afford the housing the price in terms of their income and mortgage rate. It says yeah, obviously Vancouver, Toronto is overpriced, so they cannot afford, and even Edmonton and Calgary, which is in Alberta, which is also overvalued because uh, there is less job now. People are not earning money to afford their mortgage pay. So if we conclude all of these things, and overall assessment says the most problematic area is Vancouver, Edmonton, Calgary, and Toronto. The reason of our cities strong uh, strong problem is completely opposite of Vancouver and Toronto. Vancouver and Toronto housing market was increased because of price acceleration. Here is another graph, which is the evidence of Calgary's overheating market, and is the price is rising too high? Is the Edmonton market, and there is no indication of price acceleration of this market. And the main motivation of the rule is of these changes are to reduce the price, to stop the price acceleration. But Alberta's housing market is not accelerated as Vancouver or Toronto. But because of this rule, Alberta's housing market is forced to adjust the price to the lower level. As a result, people who the first time home buyer or who recently migrated will have to wait more to afford a house. As a result, less investment in real estate industries, so more job loss. Less people will migrate to Alberta, and homeowner will be losing their money on their investment, which is not good indication for inviting the buyer. So as a conclusion, I can tell these rules should not be applied across the country. These rules should be applied wherever the problematic area to the specific case by case cities. Government should do something for criticize for citizens to afford housing. Rich people does not care the mortgage because they are not lending money from bank for mortgage because they have money, and that's the main reason for price acceleration. And government should do something to motivate construction industries to increase job. So there is more job, more people will get money to afford housing, and if there is more construction, more house, more demand, so the price will automatically decline. So as an online presentation, if you have any question, I cannot answer you face to face. If you have any question, you can email me anytime at asif_iqbalbd@yahoo.com. And here is the references. So have a good day.